From the very beginning of creation, the universe was not left to chance. According to the book of Jubilees, God did not just create the heavens and the earth, he established a divine order, a perfect rhythm maintained by angelic beings. These angels are not mere messengers, they govern the cosmos. They ensure that the sun, moon, and stars follow the paths ordained by God, keeping the seasons in perfect harmony. The book of Jubilees emphasizes that this order is not just for the sky above us, it shapes time itself. When humanity strays from God's schedule, chaos ensues. This theme of alignment with the divine clock runs throughout the text. The angels control the fabric of time, and humans are meant to live in harmony with this celestial rhythm. One of the most important ideas in Jubilees is its insistence on the solar calendar. Unlike the lunar calendar adopted by many ancient cultures, including the Israelites, the solar year of 364 days is presented as the only way to measure time correctly. Divided into 52 perfect weeks, with each season containing exactly 13 weeks, this calendar ensures that the Sabbath and festivals always fall on their intended days. Remarkably, this calendar closely resembles the Ethiopian calendar, still used today by the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. Could it be that this ancient system preserves the sacred order described in Jubilees? In contrast, the lunar calendar is seen as a corruption. Its irregular months disturb the sacred rhythm, causing humans to drift from God's intended order. Jubilees warns, there will be those who make observations of the moon, but they will disturb the seasons and make an abominable day, the day of testimony. Jubilees 6:37. For Jubilees, this is not merely a matter of astronomy, it is spiritual obedience. By following the solar calendar, humanity can align itself with the divine rhythm established at creation, living in harmony with the cosmic order maintained by the angels. Understanding this divine order is essential because it forms the foundation for everything that follows: the Sabbath, the laws of creation, and the covenant between God, angels, and humanity. At the center of this cosmic order lies the Sabbath, a day set apart not just for humans, but for the heavens themselves. In Jubilees, the story of humanity begins with Adam, but unlike the account in Genesis, it presents Adam's life as intertwined with divine instruction and angelic guidance from the very start. Adam is not merely created and placed in the Garden of Eden. He is given specific commandments by God, delivered through angels. These are not arbitrary rules, they are the eternal laws that govern both heaven and earth. On the sixth day of creation, after Adam is formed, God introduces him to the animals, allowing him to name each one. But Jubilees goes further. The angels are tasked with teaching Adam about the spiritual laws that will define his relationship with God. These laws include the observance of the Sabbath, rules of purity, proper worship, and the regulations governing marriage. The angels ensure Adam understands that these laws are eternal, meant to be observed by all generations. The Sabbath holds a central role in this teaching. It is not simply a day of rest, but a divine institution that marks time itself. Jubilees emphasizes that the Sabbath is sanctified for humans and angels alike. Observing it connects all creation to God's cosmic plan. By keeping the Sabbath, Adam and his descendants maintain harmony with the heavenly order. The angels instruct Adam in detail. They explain how holiness is expressed not only in worship, but in daily conduct. They teach him the correct way to perform sacrifices, offering insight into the spiritual principles behind each ritual. This early transmission of divine law demonstrates that morality, worship, and cosmic order are inseparable. The angels reinforce that these laws were given before any human sin, establishing a foundation for humanity that reflects God's eternal justice. Jubilees also describes the first transgression and its consequences in ways Genesis does not. When Cain kills Abel, it is not only a personal crime, but a disruption of the divine order established at creation. This act introduces sin into humanity's interaction with the world and the spiritual realm. The book highlights that the righteous line continues through Seth, Adam's third son, who is instructed to uphold the laws taught by the angels. These laws are meant to preserve the covenant between God and humanity, ensuring that the cosmic order is maintained despite human failures. Even the pre-flood generations are depicted as closely tied to divine instruction. Noah, like Adam, receives commandments from angels. Jubilees emphasizes that Noah is not only a survivor of the flood, but a custodian of divine law. He observes the Sabbath, follows the laws of purity, and performs sacrifices according to the commands that existed since Adam's time. The flood itself is framed as a corrective measure to restore cosmic balance, punishing corruption, but preserving those aligned with God's eternal laws. The transmission of these early laws illustrates a profound theme. God's commandments are not confined to the time of Moses. They are timeless, intended for all humanity, and observed by angelic beings as part of a universal covenant. This presents a vision of history where every righteous figure, Adam, Noah, and later Abraham, participates in maintaining the cosmic order through adherence to divine instruction. Abraham's story in Jubilees goes far beyond what we see in Genesis. While Genesis presents Abraham primarily as a man of faith, Jubilees portrays him as a central figure in God's cosmic plan. From a young age, Abraham is aware of the divine order, and he is taught by angels the laws that were first given to Adam and observed by Noah. Abraham grows up in a household steeped in idolatry. His father Terah worships stone and wooden gods, following the customs of the time. But Abraham questions this from the start. According to Jubilees, he examines the idols, understands their powerlessness, and begins to reject pagan practices. In a bold act of spiritual defiance, he destroys the household idols, demonstrating that the worship of the one true God transcends family traditions and cultural norms. Beyond this early rebellion, Abraham receives direct instruction from angels regarding the divine laws. Jubilees emphasizes that Abraham observes the Sabbath, keeps dietary regulations, and performs sacrifices according to the eternal commandments. These practices are not inventions of his time. They reflect the pre-existing laws written on the heavenly tablets, showing that Abraham is fully integrated into God's cosmic order. The covenant of circumcision, described in Genesis 17, takes on an even greater significance in Jubilees. It is not merely a symbol of faith, but a tangible act of obedience to the cosmic law. Abraham is told that circumcision is an eternal ordinance inscribed in the heavenly tablets, binding him and his descendants to God's eternal covenant. Jubilees portrays this as a continuation of the same divine order that Adam and Noah followed, connecting Abraham to the lineage of righteousness through law and covenant. Jubilees also expands on Abraham's interactions with divine and angelic beings. Angels guide him through critical moments, offering protection and insight. They reveal not only the immediate will of God, but also the broader cosmic plan, showing Abraham how his actions will influence generations to come. These instructions shape Abraham into a figure whose life is a model of righteousness and obedience, fully aligned with the eternal order of the universe. The story of Abraham is also interwoven with spiritual warfare. In Jubilees, forces of evil, led by figures like Mastema, constantly seek to disrupt God's plan. Abraham's trials, including threats to his life and the potential loss of his family, are framed as part of this larger cosmic struggle. Yet through faithfulness, obedience, and adherence to the divine laws, Abraham overcomes these challenges, reinforcing the theme that righteousness and lawfulness triumph over chaos and rebellion. Abraham's descendants are also part of this cosmic framework. Jubilees details how the laws passed down from Adam and Noah continue through Isaac and Jacob. Each patriarch is entrusted with preserving the commandments, observing the Sabbath, and maintaining purity, ensuring that the covenant remains intact. This creates a chain of continuity, connecting humanity to the eternal order and illustrating that God's plan unfolds across generations. The emphasis in Jubilees on the transmission of laws through angels, the obedience of the patriarchs, and the cosmic significance of covenantal acts presents a vision of history where divine law is the foundation of civilization itself. The story of Abraham is not merely historical, it is a blueprint of spiritual alignment, showing how one person's fidelity to God's commands can shape the destiny of nations. The story of Jacob and Esau in Jubilees expands far beyond what is recorded in Genesis. While Genesis presents the brothers' rivalry largely as a family conflict, Jubilees frames it within a grand cosmic order. From before their birth, God reveals their destinies, showing that Jacob is chosen to inherit the covenantal blessings and continue the line of righteousness. Esau, in contrast, represents a line destined for rebellion, a people who will challenge God's chosen order. Jubilees emphasizes that Jacob's actions, including his acquisition of the birthright and blessing, are not simply clever manipulations. They are part of a divine plan orchestrated according to the heavenly tablets. Each event in his life is predestined, reflecting a precise alignment with God's cosmic calendar and eternal law. Jacob's journey is guided by angels who instruct him, warn him, and protect him at critical moments. In Jubilees, angels accompany Jacob during his travels, ensuring that he fulfills his destiny despite the challenges he faces. This divine supervision underscores the concept that human history is intertwined with spiritual forces, and the actions of the patriarchs are pivotal in maintaining the balance between good and evil. Esau's role is also framed within the cosmic struggle. Jubilees portrays him not merely as a rival brother, but as the forefather of nations that will continually oppose Israel. His descendants, particularly the Edomites, embody rebellion against God's chosen people. The tension between Jacob and Esau extends through generations, illustrating a spiritual battle that reflects the larger conflict between righteousness and chaos. The birth of Jacob's 12 sons is portrayed as divinely orchestrated, with precise timing aligned to the sacred calendar. Each child is born according to the heavenly tablets, and their destinies are linked to the cosmic order. Jubilees emphasizes that these sons are not just historical figures, they are custodians of God's laws and stewards of the covenant. The 12 tribes of Israel are entrusted with maintaining the divine commandments, preserving holiness, and ensuring the spiritual continuity of the nation. Jacob's blessings to his sons are presented as more than familial advice. They are cosmic instructions. Jubilees frames these blessings as guidance rooted in eternal law, showing how each tribe will fulfill a particular role in the spiritual and earthly order. The Levi tribe, for example, is set apart for the priesthood, maintaining the sacrificial system and serving as mediators between God and humanity. Judah is established as the royal line, prefiguring the messianic kingdom. Every detail in these blessings aligns with God's preordained plan, demonstrating that Israel's future is carefully orchestrated by divine decree. The rivalry between Jacob and Esau also reflects a broader theme in Jubilees, the intertwining of human choices with divine providence. While individuals exercise free will, their actions operate within the framework of a cosmic plan. God's law and angels oversee the unfolding of history, ensuring that despite rebellion and human failure, the covenant will ultimately be fulfilled. Jubilees further explores the role of divine law in Jacob's family. The patriarchs are shown teaching their children the eternal commandments, observing the Sabbath, maintaining purity, and performing sacrifices. This ensures that the covenant is preserved across generations, linking heaven and earth in a tangible expression of divine order. Jacob's household becomes a model of righteousness, illustrating how faithful adherence to God's laws safeguards the cosmic balance. This emphasis on predestination, divine instruction, and angelic oversight transforms the story of Jacob and Esau into a cosmic narrative. Their lives are not isolated events, they are threads in the intricate tapestry of God's eternal plan. Every act, every choice, and every blessing contributes to the fulfillment of the divine will, demonstrating that Israel's history is inseparable from God's universal order. Joseph's life in Jubilees is framed as more than a personal journey. It is a key element in God's cosmic plan for Israel. While Genesis highlights Joseph's dreams and rise to power in Egypt, Jubilees expands on the spiritual significance of his life, portraying him as a figure carefully guided by divine law and angelic intervention from birth. From the moment Joseph is sold into slavery, angels are assigned to watch over him. Jubilees emphasizes that his survival, his integrity, and his eventual rise to power were not left to chance. These angelic guardians ensure that Joseph remains faithful to God, even when faced with betrayal, temptation, and adversity. His life is a living demonstration of the heavenly law in action, showing that obedience and righteousness bring divine favor. Jubilees also emphasizes that Joseph's destiny was inscribed on the heavenly tablets long before he was born. These tablets, the cosmic record of all divine law and preordained events, ensured that Joseph's role as savior for his family and the future nation of Israel would be fulfilled. His trials, from being sold by his brothers to his imprisonment in Egypt, are portrayed as integral to the cosmic order, shaping the conditions for the Israelites' eventual enslavement and deliverance. In Jubilees, Joseph's interpretation of dreams is depicted as more than a personal gift. It is a divine tool orchestrated by angels to bring God's plan to fruition. The dreams of Pharaoh and the famine they foreshadowed are not merely historical events. They are cosmic markers, signaling God's timing in the preordained calendar. Joseph's accurate interpretations demonstrate the alignment of human action with the divine order, showing how God's law manifests through faithful individuals. The sale of Joseph by his brothers is described in Jubilees as a transgression against the heavenly law. Their jealousy and betrayal are recorded on the heavenly tablets, emphasizing the spiritual consequences of sin. Their actions are not isolated. They disrupt the divine plan, creating conditions that lead to Israel's suffering in Egypt. Yet even within this apparent chaos, God's providence ensures that Joseph's faithfulness and angelic protection guide the family toward fulfillment of the covenant. Jubilees portrays Joseph's rise to power in Egypt as an event of cosmic significance. His position as vizier is not only a demonstration of God's favor, but also a crucial step in preparing Israel for the Exodus. By placing Joseph in a position of authority, God sets the stage for the survival of Jacob's family during the coming famine, while simultaneously fulfilling the predestined timeline recorded in the heavenly tablets. Every decision Joseph makes, every interaction with Pharaoh, and every action he takes is aligned with God's eternal law. The cosmic dimension of Joseph's life also highlights the interplay between human free will and divine providence. Joseph is active in managing Egypt's resources, demonstrating wisdom and foresight, yet his actions operate within the parameters of God's preordained plan. Angels ensure that opportunities and challenges arise at precisely the right moments, guiding events toward the eventual fulfillment of the covenantal promises. Jubilees further underscores that Joseph's awareness of the future bondage of Israel influences his counsel and leadership. He prepares Egypt not only for famine, but also for the spiritual trial of his family. His role is prophetic. Through his life, the stages of Israel's exile and ultimate deliverance are foreshadowed, linking human history to the cosmic law established at creation. The narrative of Joseph in Jubilees also reinforces the theme of divine justice. The suffering caused by his brother's sin, the trials of slavery, and imprisonment and the famine in Egypt are all part of the cosmic plan designed to test, refine, and preserve Israel. Each challenge is purposeful, guided by angels, and aligned with the divine timetable. Through Joseph, Jubilees teaches that God's law and providence extend beyond Israel's immediate experience. The story illustrates that history, human actions, and spiritual forces are all interconnected, forming a divine tapestry in which individual lives, guided by angels and anchored in the heavenly tablets, shape the destiny of nations. The story of the Exodus in Jubilees is not simply a historical account of Israel leaving Egypt. It is portrayed as a meticulously orchestrated event within God's cosmic plan. While Exodus emphasizes Pharaoh's resistance and God's mighty acts, Jubilees adds depth by situating these events within a preordained timeline recorded on the heavenly tablets, showing that every aspect of Israel's deliverance was aligned with divine law and celestial order. The suffering of Israel in Egypt is described in Jubilees as part of a broader spiritual test. The oppression they faced was not merely political or economic. It was a trial embedded in the cosmic framework, intended to test their faith, obedience, and commitment to the eternal law. This period of bondage was foreseen in the heavenly tablets, showing that God's plan is comprehensive, accounting for both human agency and spiritual warfare. Angelic forces play a crucial role in this narrative. Jubilees highlights that the angels of the Lord actively intervened to guide and protect Israel. From influencing events that preserve their lives to orchestrating circumstances that demonstrate God's power, angels ensure that the divine plan is carried out. Even Pharaoh's hardened heart is depicted as part of a larger spiritual struggle, with angelic forces ensuring that God's will prevails despite the opposition of Master and other evil spirits who sought to prevent Israel's liberation. The timing of the Exodus itself is presented as a reflection of the divine calendar, emphasizing that the deliverance was not arbitrary. Jubilees stresses that Israel's departure coincided with sacred dates, including the appointed time of Passover, which had been inscribed on the heavenly tablets from creation. Observing these sacred times was not only a ritual act, but a way of aligning human life with the divine order of the universe. Every step of the journey, from preparation to the crossing of the Red Sea, follows the cosmic rhythm established by God. The plagues of Egypt are also given profound spiritual significance in Jubilees. Each plague is portrayed as an act not only of divine judgment, but also as a strike against the spiritual powers supporting Pharaoh and the Egyptian deities. By demonstrating supremacy over both earthly rulers and celestial forces, God shows that the covenant with Israel is upheld by universal law. This cosmic dimension reframes the plagues as more than miraculous events. They are symbolic acts in a spiritual battle between righteousness and rebellion. Furthermore, Jubilees emphasizes the role of the priests and Levites during the Exodus. Their responsibilities are framed as extensions of the cosmic law recorded on the heavenly tablets. The observance of sacred rituals, the carrying of the ark, and the maintenance of the covenantal law are depicted as aligning Israel's actions with the divine blueprint, reinforcing the link between human obedience and the unfolding of God's preordained plan. The journey itself is framed as a spiritual progression, Each challenge encountered in the wilderness is both a historical and cosmic event. For example, the provision of manna is not merely sustenance. It represents the alignment of Israel with God's eternal law, demonstrating that obedience to divine timing brings life and prosperity. The guidance of angels ensures that the Israelites receive the support needed to adhere to these laws, even in the harshest conditions. Jubilees also introduces a prophetic perspective on the role of Moses. While the Bible emphasizes Moses as the human leader who mediates God's commands, Jubilees situates him within a cosmic hierarchy. Moses serves as the earthly executor of laws already recorded on the heavenly tablets. His leadership is guided by angels, ensuring that Israel's deliverance and reception of the Mosaic law occur according to divine timing and cosmic order. The covenant at Sinai in Jubilees is elevated beyond a legal agreement between God and Israel. It is depicted as a confirmation of the eternal laws recorded from creation. The tablets, which had long contained the statutes, are now revealed through Moses, connecting earthly Israel to the cosmic structure governing heaven and earth. The giving of the law is thus both historical and metaphysical, linking human obedience to divine order. Even the construction of the tabernacle and the priestly rituals are framed within this cosmic perspective. Every detail, the layout, the offerings, the festivals, is preordained and mirrored in the heavenly tablets. Observing these practices aligns Israel with the divine rhythm and maintains harmony between the spiritual and physical realms. Angels are said to oversee the proper execution of these duties, ensuring that God's eternal law is enacted correctly on earth. Through this lens, the Exodus is more than a journey from slavery to freedom. It is the enactment of a divine blueprint. Israel's liberation, the plagues, the wandering, and the covenantal rituals all contribute to the fulfillment of the cosmic law. This reinforces the central theme of Jubilees. History, obedience, and divine law are inseparably linked, orchestrated from creation and unfolding according to God's eternal plan. The wilderness period in Jubilees is depicted not merely as a historical phase of wandering, but as a profound spiritual and cosmic training ground for Israel. While Exodus records the events of the journey, manna, water from the rock, and battles, Jubilees emphasizes the deeper purpose, the preparation of the Israelites to live according to the eternal laws recorded on the heavenly tablets. Every obstacle, every test, and every provision serves to align Israel with God's cosmic order. Angels play a central role during this period. They are portrayed as guides, protectors, and instructors, ensuring that Israel not only survives, but learns to embody the principles of divine law. From teaching proper sacrifices to enforcing observance of the Sabbath and festivals, the angels serve as mediators between heaven and earth, translating cosmic order into practical guidance for the people. The narrative emphasizes that the Israelites' obedience is crucial for maintaining harmony between the spiritual and physical realms. The provision of manna is particularly significant in Jubilees. It is not merely sustenance, but a divine lesson in obedience and trust. Each day's portion, measured according to God's instruction, teaches Israel the principle of daily reliance on the Lord and the importance of adhering to divine timing. Even the preparation of the manna on the sixth day, with a double portion for the Sabbath, underscores the link between daily practice and cosmic order, showing that the rhythm of life must follow God's eternal law. The Sabbath itself is elevated beyond a weekly day of rest. Jubilees emphasizes its cosmic significance as a time when Israel aligns itself with the heavenly order. Observing the Sabbath is portrayed as synchronizing human life with the divine rhythm, connecting earthly Israel to the spiritual activities of the angels who also honor the Sabbath. The careful observance of the Sabbath becomes both a test and a demonstration of Israel's commitment to eternal law. The festivals of the year are similarly imbued with cosmic importance. Jubilees stresses that the timing of Passover, weeks, and tabernacles is calculated according to the 364-day solar calendar. This calendar is presented as God's eternal system, ensuring that sacred days always fall on their proper celestial dates. Celebrating the festivals according to this calendar maintains the alignment of Israel with divine order and ensures that the spiritual energies of creation remain balanced. Deviations from this schedule, Jubilees warns, disrupt both the physical and spiritual realms, demonstrating the interconnection between obedience, cosmic law, and divine favor. The construction of the tabernacle in the wilderness is described with great emphasis on its symbolic and cosmic significance. Every detail, the arrangement of the furniture, the materials used, and the placement of the ark, is a mirror of the heavenly structure. Angels supervise its construction, ensuring that Israel's worship on earth reflects the patterns established in heaven. In this way, the tabernacle becomes more than a physical dwelling. It is a bridge between the mortal and divine realms, a tangible expression of cosmic law and eternal order. Jubilees also provides insights into the spiritual education of the Israelites during the wilderness period. The people are not merely being prepared to enter the land of Canaan. They are being trained to live in accordance with divine statutes, to uphold justice, purity, and holiness, and to function as stewards of God's eternal commandments. Lessons in obedience, repentance, and communal responsibility are constantly reinforced, and every act of rebellion or faithfulness is seen in the context of the heavenly record. Even the challenges Israel faces from enemies in the wilderness are framed as part of the cosmic struggle between good and evil. Forces aligned with Master attempt to divert Israel from the path of righteousness, while angelic intervention ensures that the people remain on course. Battles, tests of faith, and miraculous deliverances are all portrayed as reflections of this spiritual warfare, with earthly events mirroring the cosmic conflict that surrounds them. The manna, the water from the rock, and the cloud that guided them by day and fire by night all carry symbolic weight. They are not merely miracles of provision, they are signs of God's order and His presence. They teach the Israelites that survival and success depend on obedience to divine timing and cosmic law, reinforcing the centrality of the heavenly tablets in guiding human history. Through these lessons, Jubilees presents the wilderness journey as an ongoing process of sanctification. Israel's journey is a preparation to become a holy nation, a people capable of upholding the eternal laws and reflecting the cosmic order on earth. Each step, each test, and each act of obedience strengthens their covenantal relationship with God and ensures that they are ready to fulfill their destiny in the Promised Land. As Israel enters the Promised Land, Jubilees emphasizes that this event is not just a historical conquest, it is a continuation of the divine plan written on the heavenly tablets. Every tribe, every city, and every inheritance is assigned according to a cosmic blueprint. The distribution of land is portrayed not only as a reward for obedience, but also as a preparation for fulfilling Israel's role as stewards of God's eternal law. The tribal allocations are deeply intertwined with the spiritual responsibilities of each family. Jubilees explains that the territories are not randomly assigned. They reflect the inherent spiritual qualities and divine missions of each tribe. Judah, chosen as the leadership tribe, is given the central portion of the land, symbolizing its role in governance and protection of the covenant. Levi, set apart for priestly duties, receives no inheritance of land, reflecting its eternal role as mediator between God and His people. Every tribe's allotment aligns with its function in maintaining holiness and ensuring obedience to the heavenly laws. Jubilees highlights that entering the land is also a spiritual initiation for Israel. The conquest is framed as a continuation of the cosmic struggle between righteousness and rebellion. The nations inhabiting Canaan represent forces opposed to God's order, and Israel's triumph over them symbolizes the extension of divine law and the establishment of cosmic balance on earth. Each victory, covenant renewal, and settlement event mirrors heavenly decrees, reinforcing the concept that human actions are inseparable from spiritual realities. The observance of the Sabbath festivals and purity laws remains central during the settlement of Canaan. Jubilees stresses that these laws are crucial for maintaining the sanctity of the land. The calendar is again emphasized. Proper observance ensures that the spiritual energies of the land are aligned with the heavenly order. When the Israelites observe the festivals and Sabbaths correctly, they cultivate holiness in the land itself, transforming Canaan into a space where divine law and cosmic order converge. Jubilees also portrays the leadership structures of the tribes as divinely mandated. Elders and tribal heads are not simply political leaders. They are guardians of God's law, responsible for teaching and enforcing the commandments among their people. Disobedience or negligence is seen as threatening the cosmic balance, while faithful governance ensures that the land remains blessed and the people aligned with their eternal destiny. The appointment of leaders is depicted as guided by angelic instruction, reinforcing that earthly authority is subordinate to divine wisdom. The Book of Jubilees further emphasizes the role of ritual and sacrifice in consolidating Israel as spiritual authority in the land. Altars, offerings, and sacred sites are meticulously placed according to divine instruction, symbolizing the physical manifestation of heavenly order. Each act of worship strengthens the bond between Israel and God, creating a tangible connection between the earthly nation and the eternal cosmic plan. Even the allocation of cities and regions carries symbolic and prophetic significance. Jubilees explains that certain areas are linked to specific tribes, spiritual missions, and their interactions with future generations. For example, territories near borders are assigned to tribes expected to act as defenders of holiness, while central regions are entrusted to tribes designated for leadership and judicial roles. The land itself becomes a living testament to the divine plan, each hill, river, and valley imbued with spiritual purpose. Jubilees also highlights the importance of covenant renewal upon entering the land. These ceremonies are not mere tradition, they are a reaffirmation of Israel's alignment with the heavenly tablets. Through sacrifices, oaths, and communal observances, Israel continually acknowledges that their inheritance is not only a territorial right, but also a spiritual responsibility. Their prosperity and security are conditional upon obedience to God's laws, reinforcing the inseparability of earthly life and cosmic order. The narrative stresses that even as Israel settles, the forces of rebellion and spiritual opposition remain. Canaanite nations, described as aligned with Master and his cohort, continue to challenge Israel, representing the ongoing cosmic struggle. Angelic intervention guides Israel in navigating these challenges, ensuring that the people's actions remain in accordance with the divine plan. Battles are thus not merely military, they are spiritual tests that reinforce the necessity of faithfulness, justice, and adherence to cosmic law. Finally, Jubilees emphasizes the teaching of children and the education of the next generation as essential for sustaining the divine order in Canaan. From an early age, Israelite youth are instructed in the laws, festivals, and rituals, ensuring that each generation remains aligned with God's eternal plan. The perpetuation of knowledge, observance, and obedience guarantees that Israel's presence in the land continues to reflect heavenly wisdom and that the cosmic rhythm remains unbroken. As Israel settles into the Promised Land, Jubilees emphasizes the principle that blessing and prosperity are directly linked to obedience to the heavenly laws. The land itself is depicted as a spiritual entity that responds to the faithfulness of the Israelites. When the tribes faithfully observe the Sabbath, festivals, purity laws, and other commandments, the land yields abundance and peace reigns among the people. Conversely, disobedience brings scarcity, conflict, and divine correction, demonstrating that the earthly realm is inseparable from the cosmic order. Jubilees presents a unique view of the prophets as divine mediators and enforcers of cosmic law. Prophets are not merely advisors or messengers. They are instruments through which God communicates his eternal plan and guides the nation back to alignment with the heavenly tablets. These prophetic figures are responsible for reminding Israel of their covenant obligations, interpreting cosmic signals in nature and history, and warning of consequences for spiritual negligence. Their authority is depicted as deriving directly from the angels and the divine order, reinforcing that earthly guidance must reflect heavenly wisdom. The book also emphasizes the cyclical nature of blessing and judgment. Jubilees portrays history as a repeating rhythm, where obedience brings prosperity, followed by periods of complacency or rebellion that result in correction. These cycles serve as lessons for future generations, ensuring that the people internalize the connection between their actions and the divine plan. For instance, when a tribe strays from the laws, the land itself may produce famine, disease, or conflict as a form of spiritual instruction. Restoration occurs when the tribe repents and realigns with God's commandments, demonstrating the law's enduring and corrective power. Education and the transmission of divine knowledge are central to maintaining these cycles of holiness. Jubilees emphasizes that children must be taught not only the rituals and commandments, but also the cosmic reasoning behind them. This ensures that obedience is not mechanical, but rooted in understanding the eternal order. The observance of the festivals, Sabbaths, and cosmic calendar becomes a daily reminder of the link between human action and heavenly law. Teaching the next generation safeguards the continuity of divine alignment, ensuring that Israel remains a living example of cosmic order. Jubilees also stresses the role of communal worship in sustaining the spiritual and cosmic balance. Regular offerings, sacrifices, and covenant renewals unite the tribes in collective obedience, creating a shared connection to the heavenly tablets. These communal acts reinforce the understanding that spiritual responsibility is not individual alone, but a collective duty that maintains the harmony of both land and people. Each act of worship resonates across heaven and earth, influencing spiritual forces and reinforcing Israel's role as a model of righteousness in the cosmic plan. The narrative extends the cosmic struggle into the political and social spheres of Canaan. Nations neighboring Israel, often aligned with forces of rebellion and master, are depicted as tests of the tribe's fidelity. Battles, negotiations, and territorial disputes are thus not merely human affairs, but manifestations of spiritual conflict. Israel's victories are portrayed as confirmations of divine favor, while defeats are seen as opportunities for reflection, repentance, and strengthening adherence to cosmic law. Prophetic guidance is particularly crucial during times of national crisis. Jubilees describes angels working in tandem with prophets, conveying warnings, instructions, and reassurances directly from the heavenly tablets. These interventions ensure that Israel's leadership and people remain aware of their covenantal responsibilities. Even in moments of apparent randomness, natural disasters, conflicts, or unexpected political shifts, Jubilees interprets these events as orchestrated elements within the cosmic plan, revealing the ever-present link between divine foresight and earthly occurrences. The book also explores the spiritual duties of each tribe beyond mere survival or governance. For example, tribes assigned to borderlands are tasked with acting as spiritual defenders, ensuring that the forces of rebellion do not encroach upon the sanctity of the promised land. Other tribes focus on priestly or judicial responsibilities, reinforcing the observance of law and purity among the population. Every territorial assignment, every civic role is infused with spiritual significance and predetermined purpose. In addition, Jubilees highlights the moral and ethical education of leaders as essential for sustaining Israel's cosmic alignment. Tribal heads, elders, and judges are instructed in the divine rationale behind laws, rituals, and prophecies. Leadership is not merely administrative, it is a sacred stewardship over spiritual and earthly order. Their decisions, conduct, and example influence the spiritual well-being of their tribes, illustrating how human leadership must operate in harmony with the eternal cosmic plan. Finally, Jubilees presents a vision of ongoing vigilance. Even after initial settlement, Israel's adherence to divine law is continuously tested. The land itself becomes a mirror of spiritual fidelity, and every event, harvest, birth, death, or conflict serves as both a lesson and a confirmation of obedience. The narrative portrays history in Canaan as a living chronicle, constantly reinforcing that the people, the land, and the cosmic order are interdependent, bound together through the eternal law written on the heavenly tablets. Jubilees emphasizes that the leadership of Israel carries immense spiritual responsibility. Tribal heads, judges, and priests are depicted not merely as administrators or ritual performers, but as guardians of divine law and cosmic order. Their decisions affect the spiritual health of the nation, and their obedience or failure resonates across heaven and earth. Leaders are expected to teach their people not only the letter of the law, but also its cosmic purpose, ensuring that every individual understands how their actions align with the eternal plan recorded on the heavenly tablets. Prophetic warnings serve as a critical mechanism for maintaining alignment with God's cosmic law. Jubilees portrays prophets as intermediaries who deliver messages from the heavenly realm, often accompanied by angelic emissaries. These warnings frequently come in the form of signs in nature, unusual celestial events, or societal upheavals. By interpreting these messages correctly, Israel's leaders can prevent disasters and ensure that the nation remains in harmony with God's plan. Ignoring these warnings, however, brings both immediate consequences, such as famine, disease, or military defeat, and long-term spiritual ramifications, demonstrating that prophecy is both a practical and cosmic tool. Angels are central to this system of guidance. Unlike in Genesis and Exodus, where angels appear sporadically, Jubilees presents angels as constant overseers, ensuring that the tribes carry out their divinely appointed duties. They act as teachers, protectors, and enforcers of law, working directly with leaders and prophets to safeguard Israel from spiritual and physical threats. Angels intervene in key moments of decision-making, offering counsel that aligns human choices with heavenly decrees, reinforcing the interwoven nature of earthly and celestial order. The book also highlights the principle of accountability. Leaders are judged not only by their immediate results, but also by their adherence to divine law and their commitment to teaching and preserving it. Their success is measured by the spiritual well-being of their tribes, their fidelity to the commandments, and their ability to resist the influence of rebellious forces aligned with Master. Every action, from judicial rulings to the distribution of resources, carries spiritual significance, showing that leadership is inseparable from moral and cosmic responsibility. Jubilees further explains that obedience to the law is cumulative and generational. Leaders are tasked with ensuring that knowledge of the law is transmitted faithfully to their children and successors. The narrative repeatedly emphasizes that spiritual education must start in early childhood, with parents and elders teaching both the rituals and the reasoning behind them. This ensures that every generation internalizes the connection between obedience, divine blessing, and alignment with the cosmic order. Another unique feature of Jubilees is its description of divine retribution as both corrective and instructional. When a tribe or leader fails in their duty, the consequences are depicted not merely as punishment, but as a form of spiritual teaching. Disasters, conflicts, or internal strife serve to realign the people with their heavenly mandate. This cyclical correction reinforces the concept that Israel's history is governed by a precise cosmic rhythm, where every failure offers an opportunity for repentance and restoration. Jubilees also portrays the interaction between Israel and neighboring nations as a reflection of cosmic conflict. Nations that act in rebellion against Israel are often seen as instruments of master, testing Israel's fidelity to the law. The success or failure of these interactions is thus tied to the spiritual state of Israel, its leaders and people. Military victories, alliances, and territorial gains are interpreted as confirmations of obedience, while defeats serve as reminders of the consequences of spiritual negligence. The book underscores the importance of ritual precision in maintaining cosmic harmony. Every sacrifice, festival observance, and Sabbath is portrayed as a deliberate act that reverberates across both the earthly and heavenly realms. Leaders are responsible for ensuring that rituals are performed exactly as prescribed, as deviations can create spiritual disorder. Jubilees emphasizes that rituals are not mere tradition, but essential instruments for sustaining the balance of the universe. In addition, Jubilees presents a concept of spiritual mentorship. Elders and leaders are instructed to personally guide younger members of the community in understanding the law, interpreting prophecies, and discerning angelic messages. This mentorship extends beyond practical instruction, aiming to cultivate moral insight, spiritual perception, and awareness of cosmic realities. By nurturing these qualities, leaders ensure the continuation of Israel's covenantal fidelity and the preservation of the divine plan. The integration of prophetic vision, angelic oversight, and leadership responsibility creates a holistic framework in Jubilees. It depicts Israel not as a passive recipient of God's will, but as an active participant in the cosmic order. Leaders serve as conduits through which heavenly law is applied on earth, ensuring that every aspect of communal life, from agriculture to governance to worship, reflects eternal principles. The narrative stresses that the success of the nation is inseparable from spiritual obedience, highlighting the profound interconnection between human action, divine law, and cosmic order. Jubilees presents Israel's history as a series of divinely orchestrated cycles of obedience, rebellion, exile, and restoration. These cycles are not random, but follow a cosmic rhythm recorded on the heavenly tablets. Every period of suffering and redemption is tied to both moral behavior and the alignment of Israel with divine law. The narrative repeatedly emphasizes that the fate of the nation is inseparable from the spiritual fidelity of its leaders and people, showing that history itself is an instrument of divine instruction. Exile is portrayed as a consequence of collective disobedience, a spiritual reset designed to redirect the nation toward holiness. Unlike the traditional biblical accounts, which often describe exile in historical or political terms, Jubilees emphasizes the cosmic and prophetic dimensions. The book suggests that even foreign oppressors act as unwitting instruments of divine judgment, enforcing the heavenly will. Every conquest, oppression, or displacement serves as both punishment and opportunity, reminding Israel that obedience is the key to restoration. Restoration is framed as a reaffirmation of the covenant, a time when the nation is realigned with divine law and cosmic order. Jubilees provides detailed accounts of prophetic foresight during these periods, explaining that angels reveal the timing, nature, and methods of restoration to the righteous. Restoration is not merely territorial, it is spiritual, moral, and cosmological. Leaders and prophets are responsible for ensuring that the people understand the significance of each act of obedience, linking daily practices and festivals to the eternal plan. Prophetic foreshadowing in Jubilees often extends across generations. Leaders, prophets, and even patriarchs are portrayed as aware of distant future events, including exile, oppression, and messianic deliverance. This awareness shapes their decisions and teachings as they guide the nation with the knowledge that every action resonates far beyond the immediate moment. For example, the timing of migrations, sacrifices, and observances is presented as part of the eternal schedule, ensuring that Israel's history unfolds according to the heavenly blueprint. The book also emphasizes the role of celestial forces in these cycles. Angels constantly monitor Israel's fidelity to divine law, intervening to correct deviations or to protect the nation from external and internal threats. Their actions are subtle yet profound, from guiding leaders in difficult decisions to influencing events in neighboring nations that impact Israel. Jubilees presents this angelic oversight as evidence that Israel's history is inseparable from the spiritual realities governing heaven and earth. Jubilees frequently highlights the moral and spiritual causes behind historical events. Wars, famines, and plagues are not mere accidents or political struggles. They are consequences of collective actions that either align with or defy God's commands. Leaders are expected to interpret these signs, deliver warnings to the people, and enact corrective measures that prevent further spiritual disruption. This approach portrays Israel's history as a living dialogue between divine intention, angelic guidance, and human choice. The book places a special emphasis on the continuity of divine law across generations. The patriarchs, tribal leaders, and priests serve as the custodians of these laws, ensuring that every generation understands the eternal commandments. This continuity is central to the cycles of exile and restoration, as the spiritual health of the nation depends on faithful observance. Deviations result in temporary punishment, while faithful adherence brings periods of peace, prosperity, and divine favor. Jubilees also stresses the connection between individual and collective responsibility. The sin or righteousness of leaders and influential figures impacts the entire nation. Prophets and priests serve as intermediaries who can either guide the people back to alignment with divine law or fail, resulting in consequences that reverberate across generations. The book repeatedly links personal virtue and public morality to the fulfillment of cosmic order, underscoring that leadership, law, and obedience are inseparable. A unique feature of Jubilees is its predictive element. Many events, including future exiles, the rise of foreign powers, and the coming of the Messiah, are foreshadowed in the heavenly tablets. These records ensure that Israel's leaders and prophets understand the larger cosmic significance of their actions and prepare the nation for periods of trial and eventual deliverance. The prophetic guidance provides hope, structure, and purpose, even amid adversity. In addition, Jubilees emphasizes the symbolic nature of national rituals during periods of restoration. Festivals, Sabbaths, and sacrifices are depicted as acts that realign Israel with cosmic law, reinforcing the connection between earthly practices and heavenly order. The careful observance of these rituals during times of restoration ensures that Israel not only regains political independence, but also re-establishes its spiritual authority and harmony with the eternal plan. The cycles of exile and restoration also highlight the ongoing struggle between righteousness and rebellion on both human and spiritual levels. Master and the forces of darkness are presented as continuously attempting to disrupt Israel's alignment with divine law, encouraging sin, idolatry, and societal chaos. The faithful, guided by angels and prophets, must counter these influences, demonstrating that Israel's destiny is a battleground of cosmic significance where human choices intersect with celestial forces. By portraying history in this manner, Jubilees transforms Israel's national narrative into a profound spiritual lesson. Each exile, restoration, and prophetic intervention is a reminder that the eternal plan encompasses both human and angelic realms. Israel's leaders are not only political figures, but also participants in the cosmic drama, tasked with preserving divine law, guiding their people, and ensuring that the cycles of trial and redemption unfold according to the heavenly blueprint. As we reach the culmination of the Book of Jubilees, the focus shifts to the ultimate fulfillment of God's plan, the coming of the Messianic kingdom, the final judgment, and the eternal restoration of creation. Throughout Jubilees, we have seen history not as a series of random events, but as a carefully orchestrated cosmic narrative, where every action, every choice, and every ritual aligns with the eternal laws recorded on the heavenly tablets. The Messianic era, as presented in Jubilees, is the climax of this divine plan. God's chosen ruler, often interpreted as the Messiah, will establish a kingdom where righteousness prevails and the law is fully observed. This is not merely a political reign, it is the restoration of the cosmic order, where heaven and earth are perfectly aligned, and both angels and humans live in harmony with God's eternal commandments. Jubilees emphasizes that the Messianic kingdom will mark the end of human rebellion, the defeat of Master and all spiritual forces of evil, and the final realization of the divine blueprint for creation. The book portrays the final judgment as an extension of this cosmic order. Angels play a central role, separating the righteous from the wicked, ensuring that justice is executed according to the divine timeline. Those who have faithfully followed God's law, observed the Sabbaths and festivals, and maintained alignment with the cosmic calendar will inherit the earth and dwell in peace. Conversely, the wicked, along with Master and his minions, will be cast into the lake of fire, their rebellion eradicated forever. This ultimate victory of good over evil underscores the eternal law's inviolability and highlights the consequences of spiritual disobedience throughout history. Recalling the broader narrative, Jubilees presents the lives of the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph, not merely as personal journeys of faith, but as integral threads in the divine tapestry of creation. Abraham's covenant, the cosmic significance of Jacob and Esau, the births of the 12 tribes, Joseph's rise in Egypt, and Israel's cycles of exile and restoration are all part of a predetermined plan. Angels intervene, cosmic law guides, and every event is recorded on the heavenly tablets, ensuring that the universe itself reflects God's eternal will. The book also reinforces that the Mosaic law was not a new development, but a restoration of pre-existing laws, observed by the patriarchs and ordained in heaven long before Moses received them. The solar calendar, the Sabbaths, the festivals, and the Jubilee years are depicted as integral to the divine rhythm, maintaining harmony between the spiritual and physical realms. Observance of these laws aligns humans with the cosmic order, creating a world where justice, holiness, and divine guidance govern every aspect of life. From the earliest moments of creation to the final judgment, Jubilees emphasizes that human history, angelic activity, and cosmic events are interconnected. Israel's journey is a microcosm of the broader struggle between righteousness and rebellion, good and evil, obedience and sin. The patriarchs, the tribes, and the prophets serve as mediators and custodians of divine law, demonstrating that human choice matters even within a preordained framework. In conclusion, the Book of Jubilees offers a uniquely cosmic and prophetic perspective on biblical history. It transforms familiar stories from Genesis and Exodus into a grand narrative of divine order, heavenly guidance, and eternal law. Every exile, every restoration, every festival, and every leadership decision contributes to the fulfillment of God's ultimate plan, the Messianic kingdom, the triumph of righteousness, and the restoration of creation. Angels, cosmic law, and human obedience converge to ensure that God's eternal design is realized, bridging the temporal and spiritual, the earthly and the heavenly, in one harmonious plan. This cosmic vision reminds us that history is not random, that every action has significance, and that the ultimate triumph of good over evil is assured. Jubilees invites readers to view the Bible not just as a record of past events, but as a living, eternal blueprint, connecting heaven and earth, guiding humanity toward righteousness, and revealing the profound mysteries of God's plan for the universe. God bless you.